Good morning from Belgrade, Serbia. I am coming to you from Kneza Mihajlova Street, which is the main downtown shopping, restaurant, cafe street in Belgrade. It's morning time right now, so there are some people around, but it's starting to pick up actually. But it is still morning. In the afternoon, this street is just jam-packed full of people. This is the place to be. This is where you want to be if you want to have some nice food, get a coffee, drink a beer, hang out, do some shopping. This is the street to be at. It's a beautiful street. It starts actually at Republic Square, and it's all the way straight down, about a 10-minute walk, and it'll take you to the Belgrade Fortress and the Maidan Park, which is where we are going to go right now. And the Belgrade Fortress and the whole Maidan Park area dates back to 3 BC. It is very, very old, 3rd century BC, thousands and thousands of years old. And it's quite an amazing place, a very special place. And since we're talking about thousands of years old, let's talk about Nancy Pelosi and her touching down in Taiwan. So as expected, Nancy Pelosi did make it to Taiwan. She touched down yesterday, got out of the plane wearing a bright pink, what was that? A pink peach business suit that Nancy Pelosi was sporting, and she was in Taiwan. She met with the Taiwanese leadership. She met with Taiwanese parliament and parliament members. She got a medal. They actually gave her a medal for freedom and human rights. She visited various memorials. And the whole itinerary was just basically a way to one-up China, to humiliate China. That's all it was. It was an exercise in PR and media humiliation of China. And a lot of people are, of course, a lot of analysts, a lot of people on the internet, on the interwebs, they are saying that the United States, they called China's bluff, and China didn't do anything, and China has now been exposed. And that was the purpose of the trip. That was the purpose of the trip, because to be quite honest, we didn't really expect anything to happen at that very moment, like an actual conflict to take place at that moment. There was a lot of talk and a lot of very, very tough rhetoric coming from the Chinese side, and mostly from the Chinese media. I think it's important to point that out. A lot of the strong rhetoric was coming from the Chinese media, and that rhetoric was centered around starting a conflict. At that very moment when Pelosi was arriving in Taiwan, people were talking about, intercepting her plane or something like that. And the U.S. was bringing military assets in. The Chinese were conducting drills, massive military drills. All this tension was being ramped up. But we said on many programs that we did, whether on this channel, Alexander's channel, the Duran, and all of you said in the comments down below as well, that most likely, while everything is unpredictable, most likely nothing is going to happen at this moment. And that's what we got. Nothing happened at this moment. But what we did get, what did we get? We got a PR media win from the Biden White House for the moment. And that's important to say, for the moment. And when you look at how everything was set up, once again, Nancy Pelosi coming out with that pink suit, really brash, really bold, getting a medal, speaking to Parliament, going to the memorials, talking about standing with Taiwan and democracy and Western values, and standing up to communist China, And the Taiwanese authorities said the same thing, that, the United States, they are our allies, and Nancy Pelosi is a champion of human rights and freedom and democracy, and they gave her her medal. It was all show. It was all malakias, as we say in Greece. I'm not even going to pull out the quotes, to be quite honest. I have the quotes right here, somewhere in my phone, but I'm not even going to read them, because you all know what they said. The same standard lines that we always hear: values and democracy and values, and the standard canned statements. And the main purpose of all of this was just to humiliate China. That was the main purpose of all of this. Now, why place so much emphasis on humiliating China? Well, strategically, it's stupid. I mean, why do it? They've been, the collective West has been spending 4 months trying to woo China away from Russia with regards to the conflict in Ukraine. Well, the conflict in Ukraine, they know that Russia is winning and is going to win. They know it, so there's no reason anymore to try and court China away from Russia with regards to sanctions and the conflict, is there? The sanctions, they're even walking them back, the collective West. They're walking back a lot of the sanctions. They're doing it in a very sneaky way so they don't lose face, but they're walking them back. Fertilizer, wheat, gas, oil, they're walking all of it back. But so they understand that there's no more reason, no more purpose left in trying to get China on board, or India for that matter, to get them on board with the Ukraine project, because Russia has won the Ukraine project. They've won that battle, and so now they're looking, in my opinion, they're looking more at trying to prevent this rise of an alternative system, right? The fair world order. How do you prevent that? Vechna slava sperskim I ruskim heroima. Heroima. I hope I'm reading that right. Let me know in the comments down below if I read that correctly. Let me get closer so you guys can see that. So the whole thing is all about how do you stop this alternative system from happening? Well, you have to take out China. You have to humiliate them. You have to try to expose them as this paper tiger, as this wannabe power. And you have to assert yourself as the top dog, right? That's how you do it. And so you concoct this whole, Pelosi to Taiwan, getting a medal and all of this stuff. And China's not going to do anything at the moment. So, you now can get all of your soft power in place as Pelosi is in Taiwan and she wraps up her visit to Taiwan. You get all of your media soft power to start pushing out the narrative that the United States, Biden, Pelosi, called China's bluff. She landed in China. She did what she wants. She met who she wanted. And China did nothing. And so the United States is the top dog. China's not the top dog. And come with us. You're on the wrong side, world. Africa, Latin America, Asia. You're on the wrong side. We're the strong ones. We're the ones that run the show. Yeah, what happened in Ukraine? Okay, that's kind of a one-off. Don't worry about it. We'll continue to give weapons to Elensky, and Russia is winning, but it didn't. What's the narrative in Ukraine? Russia is winning and is going to win, but it wasn't the victory that they wanted from the beginning. correct? It wasn't, the siege of Kiev, it didn't work out. And so the victory that Russia is going to get in Ukraine is a hollow victory because it wasn't the initial planned victory. That's the narrative with Ukraine, of course. So that's how they're spinning that. Yeah, Russia's gonna come out on top there, but it wasn't what they were hoping for because of the siege of Kiev and the fact that Elensky, prevented Russia from taking over Kiev with 40,000 troops. I keep on turning the camera around so everyone can see, what I see as I walk around this beautiful area. You can see the rivers right here, the Sava, Belgrade. Everybody, it's a must, an absolutely must on your travel journeys, your travel itineraries, and even to live for a while. Why not? And the great thing about this area right here, it's completely free. You can just walk in. There's no tickets. There's nothing stopping you for just coming in here and enjoying the morning or the afternoon. So, yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. Look, Lavrov went to the Middle East and to Africa, and everyone was lining up to take photos with him. That freaked the West out. That really freaked them out. And so, what are they saying? We gotta get the one thing that we completely dominate in, which is media, PR, optics, soft power, spin. We got to get that rolling. And we got to start asserting ourselves on the world stage as the top players, as the hegemon. We can't have Lavrov running around having leaders of all of these countries lining up to take photos with him. That really freaked them out. I mean, that probably freaked them out more than the special military operation. The collective West is all media. The whole thing. It's a fantasy. It's all built on media and fantasy and spin, all of it. So when they see a country like Russia or China starting to gain favor in the rest of the world, they start to worry. Hence, send Pelosi to Taiwan, try to humiliate the Chinese. No, definitely humiliate the Chinese and show the world that we are still the number one. The number one guys. So just keep in mind, while it was probably a bad, I don't even know if it was a bad angle for the Chinese to talk it up so much that they would appear to do something if Pelosi were to land in Taiwan. I won't say it was that bad of an angle to play, but it did lead to the expectation that perhaps something would happen at the moment that Pelosi landed. Keep in mind that China will retaliate. They will. They do understand what's happening now. If they didn't before, they definitely do now, and they are going to plan to take some sort of retaliation. What that's going to be, we don't know. We really don't know. Keep in mind that on February 8th to, I believe it was February 10th. I said it was like about a month ago when I talked about this in my last video. But February 8th and February 10th was the Munich Security Council of 2022. And that is when Kamala Harris was sent to Munich. That is where she pledged the United States' support for Ukraine entering into NATO. That is where Ursula von der Crazy and Annalena Baerbock and Olaf Scholz, that is where they also said that Ukraine is going to enter NATO. And that is where Zelensky said that he's going to get the bomb, right? It all happened then. It happened on February 8th, February 8th, 9th. And February 24th, we all know what happened. So we have Pelosi now in Taiwan. And, much like during the Munich Security Council, where the collective West was scoring this big victory over Russia, right? We have the collective West scoring this big victory right now over Taiwan, maybe even a bigger victory that there's over China, maybe even a bigger victory that they're scoring right now over China. But, much like what happened between Ukraine and much like what happened on the 24th, 2 weeks after that Munich Security Council conference, who knows what's going to happen now? Who knows? China is going to work on their own timeline, much like Russia is going to work on their own timeline. And we're just at the beginning. The collective West is viewing this, the Biden White House, the Blinkens, the Sullivans, they're viewing this as a victory. But I think the Chinese are viewing this as just the start, just the beginning of this book. So the other thing that came out of all of this is, in my opinion, is the fact that China needs Russia. We always think that Russia needs China, but you know what? China needs Russia. China's the big economic power. It is almost on parity with the United States. In many metrics, China has passed the United States from an economic perspective. But when you look at diplomacy, strategy, but even more than that, when you look at, for the rest of the world, I'm taking out the collective West, but when the rest of the world looks for inspiration, they look for guidance, they look for leadership, I think they turn their attention towards Russia. I'm not saying that China isn't the leader and that China doesn't have excellent diplomacy or inspiration, but I just think that Russia just they do it just a little bit better. They connect a little bit better, and I think that China definitely needs Russia. Many times, in my mind, I would always think it's Russia that needs China more. China and Russia, they need each other equally. And that's what this humiliation of China has accomplished. It's solidified the relationship between Russia and China. There is no way now that China is ever going to turn back to the collective West. And Russia actually came out the winner. Out of all of this, Russia has come out the winner. No doubt about it. And China's going to start preparing for whatever they're going to do. And they're going to do something. They're going to retaliate somehow, some way. And I hope it's not a military response. And, in my opinion, thank God we didn't get a military response from Nancy Pelosi's trip. I mean, thank God. Thank God nothing happened, to be quite honest. But the humiliation is not going to be left unanswered. And I think it's going to be something in the form of economic responses. What that entails, from what I understand, China has a lot of levers that they can pull. And the U.S. has a lot of levers that they can pull in retaliation towards China. So I expect some sort of another economic war, let's say, to take place. That's what I think is going to happen. And there could be some military activity, but I don't think we're there yet. As Alexander says, and I think he's right, I don't think China is as prepared as Russia was or is on a military level. So I think China would like a little bit more time on the military level. But on the economic level, I'm expecting that there's going to be some retaliation. Always keep in mind that Russia, from 2014, that's when they understood that the collective West is gunning for them, that they want to get regime change, effect regime change in Moscow and break up Russia. They understood that from 2014, and so they started preparing. Yesterday, I'm not saying it's going to take 8 years, but yesterday, I believe we had that Maidan 2014 moment for China. So I will leave that story there. I've rambled on long enough. This video might be a little longer because I am taking you around this beautiful fortress. It is, and I love this place. And let's talk about, let's do a quick update on Kosovo and Serbia. There is going to be a meeting in Brussels on the 18th of August. Vucic has said he will attend, though the Kosovo authorities have actually said that they haven't gotten the invitation yet, which is kind of odd. But anyway, Vucic, he said that he will be there in Brussels, and I believe the meeting is going to be with Borrell. I think I'm correct there in saying that. That's not good. But look, Vucic is pretty honest and straight up about what he expects from this meeting, which is nothing. He pretty much said as much. He said that he doesn't expect anything from the Kosovo leadership, from Kurti. He doesn't expect any kind of positive outcome from this meeting. But they are going to meet in August if Kosovo accepts the invitation, if they get the invitation, and we'll take it from there. We will take it from there. The whole license plate documentation policy that they tried to force on the Serbs in Kosovo, they've pushed that back now. I believe they've pushed that back to September. So they've delayed it. They haven't canceled it, but they've delayed it. And you're going to have these meetings in Brussels with the galactically stupid Borrell, and Vucic is going to have to go there and humor the European Union. He has to play that tightrope. You know, Serbia has to walk that tightrope between Europe, the European Union, and Russia. Russia, the New World Order, China, a whole other system. They have to walk that tightrope, very much like Turkey does. I'm not saying they're the same. Their circumstances are the same, but you know, they both have to walk that tightrope until the day comes when they can make the decision. Do we stick with the current structure, with the current NATO Euro-Atlanticist structure, or do we go to this new fair world order, as Lavrov calls it? So that is the update there with Kosovo. There has been, from what I understand, via various Telegram channels, there has been some additional flare-ups, but I haven't seen anything in the mainstream media reporting that. I've heard various kidnappings and flare-ups, but if things like that are taking place, which I wouldn't discount it, the mainstream media definitely has orders not to report on these things and escalate. They've been told, look, whatever flare-ups are going on, do not escalate. We want to get this meeting on the 18th. We all know what the European Union is going to tell Serbia. We know it. Ditch Russia, place sanctions, Putin bad, EU values, blah, 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 Malakias, right? Malakias, that's what they're going to tell Vucic and Serbia on the 18th. Okay, like I said, Serbia is going to have to humor the European Union. They're going to have to humor them and say, yeah, okay, we hear you. And they're going to have to buy their time, and wait for the right moment to choose their side, because eventually everyone is going to have to decide where they're going to line up in this multipolar world. You don't have to go completely 100% with one side or the other, But you're going to have to decide which architecture and which system and which financial institutions and which World Bank or the Shanghai cooperation. Is it going to be NATO? Is it going to be this other thing? Eventually we're all going to come to that point. So that is the update there. Let's do a quick update on Elensky and Ukraine. So Elensky gave this speech yesterday as Pelosi was in Taiwan. Elensky, well, he's the media hound. He couldn't have Pelosi steal away all of the media spotlight, so he came out with a speech. And let me read you what he said. He was talking to the people of Ukraine, and Elensky. Let me actually sit down over there so I can read you what King Elensky said. Oh, all right. Whew. Man, that's a walk. That's quite a walk. So Elensky said in a presidential address, he said, quote, "We cannot break the Russian army's superiority in manpower and artillery. It is felt very much in Pesky, Avdiivka, and elsewhere. It is literal hell out there. Words cannot describe it." So that was what he was describing with regards to the battle in Donbass. Elensky then also went on to say that, actually, let me pull it up here. He started to talk about how Ukraine needs, you guessed it, more wonder weapons, more HIMARS. And it is the HIMARS that are making all the difference. It was a 5-minute speech, 5-minute address to Ukrainians. And Elensky said that he thanked U.S. President Bidenopoulos and NATO for sending the rocket artillery, calling it very effective, and vowing to inflict more painful losses on the Russians, whom he described as a horde of invaders. Quote, "The word HIMARS has become almost synonymous with the word justice for our country." The word HIMARS has become synonymous with justice. Those HIMARS, so far the U.S. has sent 16 HIMARS, and I think the Russians have said they have taken out 6. Have they taken? I think they've taken out. They've claimed they've taken out 6 of those HIMARS, and I want to actually read you something from an analysis of Elensky's claims here. And I got this from the Slaviangrad Telegram channel. And what they say here with regards to Elensky's comments is this: being strictly factual, the Russian army has no manpower superiority at all. It wages war with its peacetime professional army, with only DPR and LPR having conscripts in their ranks, as 2 republics underwent mobilization. The artillery superiority statement is correct, even though Ukraine inherited a sizable Soviet arsenal of conventional weapons that have been mostly sold away or in despair. It has no heavy munition factories running. So I think that was an interesting comment with regards to Elensky's speech, in that we always have to remember that the Russians are engaged in this special military operation, not war, special military operation, with a peacetime professional army, and that a lot of the actual fighting on the ground with the Russian support, obviously the air support, the artillery, the missiles, all of these things, but the fighting in the Donbass is, a lot of it is taking place from the DPR and the LPR. They're the ones that are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and we can't ever forget that. it's a very important point, because you always get the New York Times and the collective West saying that the Russian army is bogged down and that they're running out of weapons and their military has been depleted. Well, a lot of the fighting in Donbass, what's happening now in Donbass, the grinding down of the Ukraine army in Donbass, the hell that Elensky is talking about, that the Ukraine military is undergoing, is coming from the DPR and the LPR. It's coming from the Donbass militia, not so much from the Russians, though they are providing all of the support and the logistics. And I think that's just a very important point. And boy, those HIMARS, the wonder weapons. So of course, Elensky is giving a marketing pitch for the HIMARS. That's what it's all about. More HIMARS. These are the wonder weapons. These are the weapons that have turned the tide of the war. You have to get your hands on some HIMARS. So Poland and Greece and the Baltic nations and Spain and all of these countries in NATO and in the Euro-Atlantic architecture and framework, they have to get on the phone with the Pentagon and they have to order up some HIMARS, because the HIMARS are the weapons that have beaten back Putin's army. They're the weapons that have made all the difference. Here's an example. On Newsmax a couple of days ago, one viewer sent me this article and this interview from Newsmax, Newsmax is like a Fox News wannabe, right? They're like a second tier Fox News. And they had an interview with Dick Morris. Dick Morris wrote the book, The Return, Trump's Big 2024 Comeback. And Dick Morris, while he was appearing on Newsmax, he said some incredible things. Let me read you his sales pitch for HIMARS. And keep in mind, everything that you're going to listen to, everything that I'm reading, it's all about marketing and sales for the military-industrial complex. Think of this like product placement. You have a news show, you bring in a geopolitical analyst, and you talk about a wonder weapon. It's like product placement. It's like that music video where the rock star is belting out his tune and he grabs a Coca-Cola, and he drinks it while he's rocking away, right? It's product placement. That is all we are seeing from these news organizations. Sell more HIMARS. The Javelins failed. Everything else failed. I'm trying to remember some of the other wonder weapons. There's just such a long list. The drones, the Switchblade drones, and the Ghost. What else? The Ghost drones that they had as well. All of that, it didn't really gain traction. But those HIMARS, man, those HIMARS. You got to get me one of those HIMARS. Anyway, this is what Dick Morris said, just so you can listen to the delusion, but also understand the brilliance of this product placement marketing for the military-industrial complex. He told Newsmax, Ukraine is winning the war against Russia and will be potentially winning decisively. For a while in May, June, and July, when Russia shifted its focus to Donbass, the Ukrainians were on the hills and the Russians seemed to be gaining. But lately, the Ukrainians have been very successful in fighting back and in counterattacking, and part of that is because of the arrival of advanced weapons from the United States and NATO, so that they are outclassing the Russians in terms of their ability to fight. Meanwhile, there is the possibility of a mass surrender of thousands of Russian troops as a result of fighting in the Kherson region, where Ukraine said that it has killed numerous Russians. Okay, the great Kherson counteroffensive, right? Let me see, what else did Morris say here? Okay, that's pretty much it. The basic thrust of it is that Ukraine is winning, it's doing very well, and the motivation of its troops and its equipment is better. And he talks about the great Kherson counteroffensive. He says that might have a tremendous impact on Russian public opinion and make it impossible to ignore their battlefield reverses. So the great counteroffensive. But the main point of this Newsmax interview is, and the comments from Dick Morris is, for 3-4 months, Ukraine was losing. The minute they got the HIMARS, everything changed. So order up some HIMARS, everybody. Get on the Pentagon, call up Lloyd Austin and get your hands on some HIMARS because they make all the difference. So let's do a clown world and we'll wrap this video up. And let me take you on a little bit more of a walk here. And this is courtesy of the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who has pledged support to Taiwan and military escalation with China. Spiegel has reported that Baerbock stated, and I quote, "We do not accept when international law is broken and a powerful neighbor attacks its smaller neighbor in violation of international law." And that, of course, also applies to China. In view of the brutal Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, it is important to make it clear that the international community does not accept such behavior. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has warned China against escalating tensions with Taiwan and has expressed support for the island nation. Notably, tensions had recently risen over Pelosi's possible visit to Taiwan. Beijing has threatened the U.S. Okay, blah, blah. So here you have the German foreign minister threatening Taiwan and saying that, that Germany will not accept a larger, more powerful country attacking a smaller country, kind of like what NATO does around the world, I guess is Baerbock's point, right? How they forget about Serbia, how they forget about Iraq and Libya and Syria and Afghanistan, all of that stuff, just, let's not talk about it. Let's just not talk about it. Remember Olaf Scholz when he went to visit Putin a couple of days before the special military operation kicked off, and he was talking about how we can't have war in Europe. We haven't had war in Europe since World War II. We haven't had this type of conflict since World War II. And Putin told him, Olaf, Serbia, NATO, 72, 74 days of nonstop bombing. You see, they forget about all of this, all the stuff that they did, they forget about it. They just don't want to talk about it, as Annalena Baerbock. Annalena Baerbock actually may not even know about it. Let's be fair to her. She's kind of a dummy when it comes to that stuff. So she may not even know what happened in Libya or what happened in Iraq or Syria or anything like that. She may be completely oblivious to that stuff. So, we don't want to give her too much credit as being too up on her history or on her geopolitics. She's more concerned about windmills and solar panels and puppy dogs and ice cream and Klaus Schwab's Great Reset. That's what really concerns Baerbock. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there, everybody. Let's go down here. I don't know where this is going to lead me to, but let's walk down here and say a quick goodbye. For now, the Duran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel where he's doing all kinds of analysis, deep dive analysis as to what's going on. Check out the Duran's channel where we're also doing a good job of analysis as to what's going on. Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram. And did I say the Duran.locals.com? Yes, I did. And the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.